Cindy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cope,
Here.
Evans. Here. Martin.
Here.
Ready. Here. Burkhart.
Here.
I want to welcome everyone that is in the audience this evening. If you are here for an item that is on the agenda, we would ask for you to wait for that item to come up to address the council at that time. If you're here for an item that is not on the agenda, there will be an opportunity under public communications to address the council. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sarah, have you led us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. Mike, do we have any changes to the agenda? Council, any changes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans. Martin.
Yes.
Ready. Burkhart.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to public communications. We have no scheduled public communications this evening. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? Cindy, anybody online? Okay. We'll move on to public hearings. We have two public hearings this evening. 4A, to conduct a public hearing and consider resolution number 25-194, authorizing the mayor to execute an electrical easement to Mid-American Energy for the Merle Hay Road water access. And we will open this public hearing at 7:02. Jeff?
Yes, this is to allow Mid-American to get power from their power box kind of behind Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh to get over to power the Merle Hay Water Trail access, the restroom facility, and lights in that project.
Council have any questions?
Where exactly are putting this one?
It'll be south, it'll be like kind of along the trail area, south of Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh.
And Jeff, a little off subject, but when do we expect the water trail access to be finished?
As soon as you get the water level down enough that they can, they're waiting on, the building's gonna be done here in a couple weeks, but they can't get down to the creek to put in the big limestone blocks and all the footings for it until it gets down. I think it needs to get down another foot before they can start, otherwise they're just moving water around.
Okay. Is there any concern about going into next year?
No, the original contract called for them to get done in September with working days. Well, we're pretty much they're not having a lot of good working days. So I think they will be done by end of October or sometime in November at the
So it'll
latest.
still be finished this
Yes.
season? Okay. Any other questions for Jeff on the topic that's in front of us? If not, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:04. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 25-194?
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Ready. Burkhart.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Evans.
Motion passed. Item 4B, conduct a public hearing on the proposal to enter into an amendment and restated purchase, sale, and development agreement with Johnston Golf Development LLC and consider resolution number 25-21, ratifying, confirming, and approving publication of notice of public hearing and approving and authorizing execution of an amended and restated purchase, sale, and development agreement by and between the City of Johnston and Johnston Golf Development LLC. And we'll open this public hearing at 7:05.
Good evening, Council, Mayor and Council. Many of you, or all of you, just received a copy of this. I do know our City Administrator was doing his best efforts to keep you apprised of the development of this restated development agreement. Most recently, you've probably heard the term amendment to our original development agreement. The restated term basically says, instead of referencing back to the original development agreement, let's just spell it all out. So it's very similar. It's an amendment, but we're just restating everything so it's more clear. I'll go through this and definitely open it up for questions at the end. And Mike, if you catch anything as I'm going through it, please pause me. This amendment or restated purchase and sale and development agreement came to us. The developer, Mr. Alan Stoy with Johnston Golf Development LLC, has stated additional financial aid and a few extended timelines to complete the project. The project specifically is Bombers Golf and Family Entertainment and the hotel. The city of Johnston first entered into a development agreement with Mr. Stoy in February of 2022. The city subsequently sold the property for development with defined intention, specifically a state-of-the-art indoor golf facility and a hotel, along with some other intended entertainment purposes on the outlots. Since February 22, the council has worked with the developer, and there's been 8 subsequent amendments, including the original agreement and this restated. This will be the 10th amendment or rendition of the agreement. To date, and I'm just providing a little bit of background as you consider this new agreement here. To date, excluding this proposed amendment tonight, the city of Johnston has made a $5,107,000 investment in this project, not including some professional fees, but originally the city sold the land at approximately a $2.4 million discount to the developer as an incentive, in addition to about $2.6 approximately million in pre-development grants to improve the property, which we have all seen the benefits of. This agreement does make some subtle changes or further define definitions of the minimum improvements, but overall is intentionally the same. So the expectations of this development agreement are now further defined as an 80,000 square foot golf entertainment facility with at least 36 hitting bays and other amenities that are further defined, such as mini golf and bowling. Also, it still includes an upscale a hotel, but now further defined as an upscale select service hotel with a minimum of 65,000 square feet and now a minimum of 100 hotel rooms. The number of jobs has increased from a minimum of 150 full-time equivalent positions to now 200 full-time equivalent positions. And that comes along with some further amenities and operations that will be happening within the golf facility. The hotel in this amendment is also proposed to move from the north side to the south side of the development. And you will see that on page B2, I believe. So more along Beaver Creek and near the trail. That is something that was a desire not only by the developer, but the flags that they're talking with, hotel flags, thought it would be a better view on that end. You will also see, and let me get you the specific page, I apologize. There is, in place of where the former hotel, or the former location of the hotel, and this is on page B2. I will scroll down. I'll walk over to the screen here. There hasn't been a lot of changes, but as I mentioned, the hotel the golf facility is here, the driving range. The hotel was formally proposed and agreed upon to be on the north side here, now moving to the south side. In place of the former hotel site, there is a proposed pickleball facility, which is not defined in this agreement. It's not being incentivized, or it's not part of this agreement, but I just did want to point that out as you see that in the preliminary site plan depicted on page B2. In terms of any financial notes, in terms of proposed changes in this agreement, up until this point and prior to this agreement, on the golf and the hotel facilities combined, the city and developer agreed to a TIF rebate not to exceed $18,500,000 over 10 years. There was a stair-stepped percentage down on that TIF rebate. I'm sorry, 14 years on not to exceed $18,500,000 over 14 years. And there was a stair-step percentage down over those 14 years historically. In this agreement here, it proposes to increase that TIF rebate to not to exceed $19,700,000. And that is a rebate at a 90% schedule on the first $36 million of assessment. And then anything over $36 million would be rebated at 100%. Also proposed is now moving a minimum assessment agreement from $36 million to now $48 million. And that is for the golf and hotel facility combined, not including the outlots. Any questions up to this point? Okay. Okay. Historically, up until this point with our previous agreement, the city was at an $18,500,000 rebate over 14 years. And there was something called a stair step down percentage rebate. So X amount this year, X amount percentage that year, but not to exceed 18.5. Now, this proposes not to exceed $19,700,000 rebate. And that will be rebated and calculated in a certain manner. The first $36 million of assessment will be rebated at 90% increment. And then anything that is assessed over that increment will be rebated at 100%. Again, not to exceed $19,700,000.
I have a question. Can you go into more why the hotel moved to the south side?
I can touch on it. At the end, I would probably ask the developer to articulate that. The north side does view some storage unit facilities, and there was some concern with the view from the hotel on the north side, from the developer's point of view, and the hotel flags they're talking to.
I would consider this a major redesign. The other design had this green space that led out to Beaver Creek. It was embracing Beaver Creek, and now we've turned our back on it, one of our most vital resources. So I'm not impressed. I'll just let you know.
In terms of a timeline on the golf facility, there is a number of what we call performance obligations by the developer and the city. By October 31st of this year, for the golf facility specifically, the developer will need to provide the city a private lending term sheet showing that they have an offer for financing. By December 31st of this calendar year, the developer will need to provide the city documentation of having sufficient equity investor guarantees. And then, I apologize, Mike, is it January 31st? My notes are short. I have it here. By January 31st, 2026, the developer shall provide the city documentation of bank financing for a construction loan sufficient to construct the golf facility. And within 90 days of that, the developer shall have completed the construction of the foundations of the golf facility, or ordered the steel for the golf facility, and executed an agreement with a general contractor for a guaranteed maximum price for the golf facility. The completion date remains the same of December for construction, December 2026. That completion date is actually for the golf facility and the hotel.
The golf facility and the hotel?
Correct. Yep. Even though we're not asking for documentation, financing documentation along the way for the hotel, the completion dates are the same for December 2026. Those two buildings or improvements will be fully assessed with that $48 million minimum assessment by January 1, 2027. They will need to be fully operational by February 15th, 2027. And then a few more days, about 30 days from then, they need to have it fully staffed with that 200 full-time equivalent, those 200 full-time equivalent positions by March 1st, 2027. And council, typically we do have a staff report on the agenda. So my notes will be uploaded here after. Staff apologizes, me in particular. We were working on this through the weekend with some refining of the details. So for the public's information, these notes will be uploaded in a simple bullet pointed manner to the agenda.
So Josh, let me just, you've talked quite a bit about some of the financial numbers. I just want to make sure that I understand them completely as well as everybody else. So under the previous agreements we've had, there was a minimum assessment agreement, which basically said that the amount of money that the property would be assessed for property, to determine its tax bill, had to be 36 million.
Correct.
And now that's gone up to 48 million.
Correct. Now specifically on the development property for this
hotel
project.
and
Yep.
Bombers and the hotel. So
Correct.
those two parts will have to be, no matter what an assessor would, or even if, would come in and say, well, this building is worth $40 million, they will now have to pay a minimum, they will have to be assessed for determining tax purposes at $48 million.
Correct.
And so we talk about the going from 18.5 million to 19.7 million, but really that higher minimum assessment level ensures that basically the property is going to be generating that money to pay the rebate. It's not like the city is having to come up with that additional $1.2 million somewhere in our city budget. That money is being paid for out of rebate from the taxes that are generated, and that higher assessment of going to $48 million helps to generate the money to pay for that. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. It does not generate more money for the city, but it does generate more money to rebate the increment that the developers.
Right, but I guess I just want to make it clear that as people look at the difference between 18.5 and 19.7, it's not like that $1.2 million we have to provide out of our general fund that would be otherwise could be funding other parts of the city budget.
Absolutely.
This project, the rebate, and this is as you described, we use the TIF rebate just like we do for every other type of TIF project. The property taxes that the project is generating are rebated back to the owner. And this obviously a longer term, 14 years as opposed to some of the other deals that we typically do, and a percentage that's high. But at the same time, we're not talking about taking money from some part of the city budget to help pay for the rebate. This is all funded out of the dollars that the development is paying. And they're legally bound to that minimum assessment agreement. That's why we have a development agreement that binds them, commits them to pay $48 million or be assessed at $48 million and pay taxes based on that assessment, even if the value is lower than $48 million.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep, thank you. And that increase in minimum assessment was actually a request of the developer, and they worked with the county assessor's office to come up with that number. Thank you, Tom. So we've talked a lot about the golf facility and the hotel. I wanted to separate these a little bit. In this agreement continues to be a component of the outlots. There's two outlots along Rural Hay. Technically, there will be some more, but the ones we focus on in this development agreement are the two outlots facing Rural Hay. Currently, there is a, prior to tonight's proposed agreement, it was a 75% rebate for up to 10 years, not to exceed $3 million. And there were some qualified projects that would need to be constructed on those parcels in order to receive that incentive, and that would be a high-quality retail project, a sit-down restaurant, or brewery, or an upper-story office building. So they would have to build one of those three things on those two outlots, or a combination thereof, to receive that 75% rebate up to 10 years, not to exceed $3 million. In this proposed agreement, it is proposing to reduce that rebate to 50% for 10 years, not to exceed $3 million. Although if the developer now includes a sit-down restaurant with a rooftop experience, they would be eligible up to that 75% rebate, again, not to exceed $3 million. So there's still an opportunity to receive that 75% rebate. We've included some further language in here that the buildings will need to have a 75% occupancy along the frontage in order to receive that rebate also.
And I would just note there, I think this is a section of this new agreement that I think the staff has done a really nice job on, that we haven't included similar type requirements in other previous TIF agreements. We have other previous TIF agreements that we've done where we provided a higher than even the 75% rebate without requiring these higher level of finishes. I think one of the requirements I even saw requires them to build it out to 90% at Class A on all four sides.
Thank you, Tom, yes.
That's a significant requirement. And we'll make those, I mean, that's on all four sides, 90% Class A, that's very high. And so that, and the fact that we're also requiring a second story, are not requiring, but in using the, say, if you want an additional incentive, these are the things you need to do. I think that's the whole purpose of TIF. And I really applaud the staff for taking that step and doing that here. And frankly, I kind of wish we had done that previously, but everything's always kind of a constant learning process. And I think, so I appreciate the good work that the staff has done here to kind of build on that, so.
You covered the last point for the outlots? No, that's perfect. I appreciate it. And one of the thoughts on that, Tom, is obviously the Merle Hay Gateway area is one of the most, if not the most visible corridors in terms of access of our community. So those Class A materials, staff and the developer agreed that it would be important.
Yeah, and I should, I mean, not only obviously the work of but obviously, this is an agreement, right? And so the developer had to agree to that too. So appreciate their willingness to agree to it as well.
And then the last component, if I haven't forgotten anything, there is included in here a request from the developer to do another drawdown on their current mortgage with Grinnell State Bank, which requires council consideration. The reason being is we have a mortgage on the property. That mortgage, the purpose of it is that the city sold the land to the developer at a discounted price. And so there's a remedy in this historically and in this current agreement. For any reason the project didn't go forward, they would need to pay us that difference. The project is definitely heading in the right direction from all angles that we can see. But because we have that mortgage as a safety net, it does require council consideration for the developer to draw down on their current mortgage with Grinnell State Bank, and they're requesting an additional $800,000 drawdown. Those funds would be used to order steel, put a down payment for steel on the golf facility, some switchgear, hotel design fees, interest payments, taxes, and some diligence fees regarding their financing. I will stop there and open it up for questions. I know we covered a lot. Hopefully it all made sense and I didn't put you to sleep. Yes, sir.
Back to those buildings on the front and the rooftop, you mentioned the rooftop dining and the high-end restaurant. Is that a requirement to have rooftop dining?
Thank you for the question. I'll go back. In order to receive any incentive on those outlots, the qualifying uses and operations on those outlots needs to be a high-quality retail operation or a sit-down restaurant or brewery, or, what's the third one? I keep forgetting it.
Office, commercial.
Upper story office. So in order to qualify for any of the incentives on the outlots, it has to be one of those three uses. And they get 50% increment for 10 years, not to exceed $3 million. Now, if they include a restaurant that has a rooftop experience, then they will get the 75% rebate not to exceed $3 million. Does that make sense? So the rooftop experience is not a requirement. And for further clarification, if the developer does not complete the improvements on the outlots, it is not an act of default. They just wouldn't receive the incentive. And I bring that to your attention because that was a question that kind of circulated from internally as staff as people were reviewing it. The other improvements are expected for the agreement.
Council, any other questions for Josh?
I don't have a question for Josh. I guess I do on the issue of the placement of the hotel as a follow-up kind of to the point that Councilmember Martin made. With all due respect to Councilmember Martin, I actually am really excited about that location of the hotel. And I think actually, frankly, it will serve to really promote Beaver Creek. I can see that hotel by being as located where it is, it will really tie into the nature elements there. You're going to have a kayak launch. It's just right, really very close to there. And so I can see folks who will want to access that kayak launch, staying at that hotel and using Beaver Creek and using all the natural elements that are going to be part of that. So I see it differently than you do. I actually like that location, and I actually think it will result and more promotion of Beaver Creek as a recreational and as part of our community as opposed to less. So that's just my perspective on that.
One additional component, I apologize. On the public art component, there's been a segment in there that whereby the developer would purchase a $25,000 piece of public art. There's been a change in this proposed agreement where the developer would contribute $25,000 to the city's public art fund, which would be a new public art fund set up. As you're aware, we're creating our first public art plan. And a component of that, when it's adopted, will likely have a component whereby a developer is requesting financial assistance. We may ask them likely to contribute to the public art fund. There is an intention to put a public art piece at the kayak launch in this vicinity, and it could be whereby we take that $25,000 and invest it right back in this district. It is in here that we will consult the developer, among many other people, what that public art piece would be. We've reassured the developer it will be a family-friendly art piece, which was an ask that came up. So we will consult with the developer, among others, on the art piece and the location.
Other questions or comments?
Staff recommends approval.
This is a public hearing on this item. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:29. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 25-211?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor, I have some further discussion. Councilman Cope, I appreciate your comments. I really do. And I have to say that I really appreciate all the work that our staff and our economic development ad hoc committees have done through the years on trying to get this thing to be successful. I'm just very disappointed It's kind of like when I first got on the council, I was at meetings where Bricktown was discussed. And I remember being in the audience, but asking questions, and the developer said he was gonna make that great. It was gonna be amazing. He was gonna have that water feature in front. It was gonna be gorgeous, as developers do. I'm not sure that the landscape after 8 years is amazing, and neither is that water feature. It's not bad, but it wasn't what was described or what I envisioned. And I'm afraid that this is like one of those Victorian houses where they've taken all the trim off and they've ripped the porch off and everything else to make this thing work. On the southeast corner of the site where the hotel is, we've got that, our bike trail, which is gonna be an amazing, beautiful bike trail butting up to rows of car fronts. And I can almost hear whoever's managing the hotel talking about how he needs to have a fence between the bike trail and the car parking because of the possibilities of those cars getting vandalized at night and all sorts of stuff. I can look at these plans. I've looked at plans like this for 30 years. I used to do a lot more commercial strip mall design. And what I see is everything that was inspiring gone. And especially I feel like, I understand what you said about the hotel being close to the Beaver Creek, but what I see is the back of the hotel is turned its back to Beaver Creek. And that whole connection of this wonderful green space slice that was gonna connect our Beaver Creek and all the improvements we're doing and the bike launch is now separated from the majority of the rest of this development by parking lots that don't even have sidewalks connecting it to the rest of the development. And I know I'm putting too much criticism on what is a schematic plan. But what this says to me is we went to the civil engineers and we said, we need so many square foot of building and we need as many parking spaces as possible and throw some trees in. I haven't seen any landscaping out there yet. It's been promised for a long time. So I'm not going to be voting in favor of this, although I really appreciate all the work that's been going on here, but I feel like we've stripped everything off of this to the point where it's just really not what was described. Those are my comments.
Mayor, if I may. Councilwoman Martin, absolutely hear your comments. If I may just add a little bit of color to this preliminary site plan. This development agreement moved through meetings and staff fairly quickly in the last 2.5 weeks. And I want to thank all the staff who worked on this draft. There was many hands on this, a lot of hours put in, and the developer did go back to who they were working with, and this was put together fairly quickly because this is a required piece in a development agreement where we have this concept. We are more than happy to talk with the developer who is actually here tonight, who may be willing to respond to your comments. The layout of the parking, I do know they haven't finalized, and actually they have quite a bit of room to move forward, progress to make on any architectural plans and site plans. So this is very conceptual. So I'm sure the developer hears your comments this evening and would be willing to work with you. I'll let him comment further on that. But I just did want to color for you that this moved fairly quickly, and he worked with his designer to put this concept together fairly quickly because we needed an accurate depiction of where things were conceptually going to go. The other thing I will comment that has stayed in the development agreement is the reforestation plan that you are familiar with. The developer does need to, in addition to the base landscaping requirements for anything on this site, they need to make somewhere between a $50,000 and $125,000 investment in reforesting this site, which I know that the developer, yourself, the tree board and staff are working through. So I just wanted to add that additional comment. Alan, would you like to comment to the councilwoman's comments? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to reiterate what Councilwoman Martin said about city staff in the last, I think we were on with Mike a couple times over the weekend. I know city was dealing with the Allers attorneys. We were dealing with the NYMaster attorneys. They were going back and forth with each other. It's all with the design to keep this on the time schedule it needs to be so we can get enough verticality in the winter so we can work under winter conditions. But I certainly do want to address what you have to say, Councilwoman Martin. When we walked the land together a couple of years ago, every tree you wanted saved, I said, let's save it. I live in Johnston. I do not want a concrete jungle. Things have changed since since 22, some of it because of us or the city, some of it not because of us. The land behind the Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh, the original agreement, all of that was going to be sold. Half of that was going to be given to us. The city was going to purchase it, half of it to the city. Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh decided they were only going to give a portion of that. So we gave it all to the kayak launch. There was some additional green space on the original design. At the time, we thought the DOT was going to donate us some land and we were going to use that to create green space, which we absolutely want to do. If we can revisit that, we are more than happy to contribute to that. As far as the landscaping plan, we have 3 or 4 months ago, there was an item that was going to be in front of the council on that. And then there were some issues with the tree board and one of the council members on how it was going to go. So it got tabled. We're more than happy to continue that. As far as everything for right now, there is going to be a lot of construction going on out there. So to plant nice trees right now that are going to get run over with skid loaders and construction vehicles and things like that, that was not the recommendation of the GC. The recommendation was to put it in at the very end. So I'm happy to sit down with you or the board, regardless of how you vote. I want this to be a beautiful area. I was in Phoenix here the last couple of days, dropping my daughter off at college. There's some nice areas, but a lot of it is concrete as far as the eye can see. And they've taken, and that's not what we're looking for here. So suggestions that you have, I think we're happy to do. As far as we talked about the Class A on the frontage, the whole thing is going to be Class A finishes. If you compare them to the other golf facility in West Des Moines and you compare those to our finishes, there's no comparison. We want this to look like a beautiful entertainment complex, and certainly part of that has to do with environmental, considerations. So by all means, please make those suggestions and let's make that happen. But I agree, this is not exactly the same as what it was, but we also expected a lot more land that we were willing to put extra money in toward to get there. So if we can get that, if we can revisit that with the DOT and say, hey, we're going to make a extra green space, we'll split that with you or however that works. We're happy to do that. So I want it to look nice.
Alan, in recognition of Councilwoman Martin's comments, I'm not the right department. You're not fully sure what the parking requirements are, but would you be open to discussing ensuring the parking is up front and not behind, at least open to the discussion? I realize there's site plan and there's things beyond economic development department's knowledge of our code requirements, but is that something you would be?
Absolutely, we're open to that. I have not demanded that parking be in the back. I'm leaning on a place like Confluence, who some of you may have a different opinion. My opinion of them is they're a great environmental architect who tries to respect, the overall view of things. We've dealt with Chris and Matt Carlott, so we're open to that. I'm not exactly sure how the setup is, but we have to have enough parking to do that. If there's a way that we can not park on the backside and move it down a little bit and have more parking up front, we're certainly open to that. I want it to look nice. This building right here, which we haven't signed yet, but we've had discussions, which is going to be right next to the kayak launch, is kind of designed to be a restaurant with an outdoor space. If you think about what a cornbread in Ames or a what you smoking in Luther, that little Mexican or barbecue place, where it's got a lot of outdoor space for outdoor seating. We think having a place like that by the kayak launch for people as they come through, stop there, so looking to have something that really kind of flows with the nature. But if there's anything specific you want or need from me, let me know. We're going to try to do that.
Alan, I can only vote on what I'm seeing.
Oh, no problem.
And again, I know this has been a long project. And I am just like the rest of the council, really, really want this project to work. I do. But I've been burned too many times with promises. And what I have in front of me is this plan. Confluence is a great company. I hope you do stick with them on design. I hope that you can do something about the parking quantities. I hope that you understand that that southeast corner is like a gem site. It's not just budget hotel worthy. I mean, it's noisy. Interstate's noisy, but it's going to be one of, anybody who rides a bike to Johnston is going to be riding by this place. And there is going to be business coming from that bike trail. And to turn your back on it is a mistake.
It's not a budget hotel. It's important. The development agreement specifically talks about it being an upscale hotel. So I think it's
And
important.
if it is an upscale hotel, hopefully, in the end, they will realize the beauty of this site and not turn their back on it.
Right.
But I'm only going to
Ellen?
judge by what's in front of me.
Ellen, I am glad that you're here tonight, and I'm glad that you got up and addressed some of the concerns that have been raised. I am still very optimistic that this is going to turn out to be what we had talked about three years ago when we first started having these conversations. This is the entrance in our community. This can be absolutely amazing, and I'm still very optimistic. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be a draw into our community. It's going to be something that our residents and visitors alike are going to really enjoy having in our community. I do like the idea that Josh suggested about putting the parking on the other side of the hotel, so that, and I would think that the hotel would probably like that, because it actually is an even better view for the people who are coming to use that hotel. And it's obviously a much better view for the bikers and the paddlers on Beaver Creek as well. We still have work to do, but I think we can get there. If there's one thing that in the past few months, if there's one thing that I'm hearing from our residents more often than anything else, and that is, when is Bombers going to be built? And when is Ignite going to be built? I mean, I get that question more than I get any other question these days. And I keep telling them, soon. And it's going to be what we all hoped it would be. So we're going to hold you to that.
Well, I will say, Mayor, the difference between tonight and previous amendments that we've had when we were moving toward financing is we have 2 term sheets in our hands. We had one of those term sheets for the past several months, but then when there was a different decision that we all decided to go forward on the monetization of the TIF, we had to go out and seek that. I know Mike and Josh were on a call a few weeks ago with that to get a few questions answered with that company based in Iowa that's going to be doing that. We just got that term sheet on Friday. So we have both of those term sheets now. In the past, when we've done this, we hope this gets us to a term sheet. Now it's, we have a term sheet. So I think that's a positive.
Check really quick. And Cindy's gonna pull up my computer. I want to give a little bit of context. I think it's kind of important. So this is the illustration that's actually out of the original development agreement for Bombers. So, it's very conceptual at the time. It did show parking along the trail and 2 large banks. And then this parcel, while it's green, was a future development site for a building. And then when you go and look at the subdivision plat, it was contemplated to have 2 developable lots on the south side of the site. And essentially what Alan is proposing, originally this was going to be where the hotel was. What they have proposed, again, they didn't want to oversee the storage area, just kind of backside of the hotel there. They're proposing to move this lot line to the west and then put that parking lot, or put the hotel there and then have parking. But if you go back to the hotel, staff's perspective of the parking originally, it was somewhat originally proposed that way anyhow. So that, from that perspective, it wasn't. Now, I think conceptually, the amount of parking that was in here was probably way over parked originally when this concept was put together. I don't know if you originally had an idea of what was going to go in that. What's parcel 3 in this development?
That was going to be the pickleball or the other entertainment portion. And we had talked to a couple different potential vendors.
And again, when you kind of grow into where we're at, especially with subdivision, at least from staff's perspective, when we looked at it and this was discussed, and this is not a per se a new change. I mean, this has been discussed with Economic Development Committee for a number of months about moving into the south side. It certainly is a change, and Josh highlighted that. But from what's in the subdivision, it's not a substantial.
Mike, I appreciate you bringing that up, but I know there were other sketches. Whether they came before or after that, I don't know. But there were other sketches with like almost a V going out to the Beaver Creek. It's really, we're beyond that now. This, the plan that was shown tonight is the plan we have.
But I do have a question. So, I mean, I presume, will there be a site plan? Because I think that's a little bit of confusing, right?
So this is a concept plan that's part of the development.
So it's called a preliminary site plan, but it's not a site plan per se. Okay. So they'll still have to come back and go through the site, which will then give us an opportunity as part of that site plan process to talk about maybe placement of the hotel, placement of the parking, and doing, and kind of working to balance Councilmember Martin's vision of what she saw in previous plans that she'd like to make sure continue to be seen. And obviously, at the same time, being able to maintain the hotel as envisioned by the developer, and like I said, I'm really excited about the fact it is a upscale branded hotel that I think also tied in, especially with the potential outdoor themed restaurant right next door, I think can be a really strong draw and very complementary to what's happening at Bombers and everything we're trying to do along Merle Hay and all the work we've done with the water trails. So I think that's a significant home run as part of that as well.
Well, we've had both Marriott and Hilton in town. They're the #1 and the #2 hotel flags in the country. And we've settled on Marriott. They want to be here, but they also have a little bit of leverage, if you will, as well, because they can go wherever they want.
Right.
And so I think that's part of, we have to certainly
understand that, right?
consider that a little bit. After going through 9 different, total was actually 12, but 9 different potential hotel operation partners, we settled on a partner that the chief development officer, they're around the Midwest. They operate 12 hotels. They operate 18 hotels, own 12, is based in Johnston. I love having people who I can look in the eye and say, hey, this is a problem, let's fix it. It was work to get Marriott, and we had Hilton and Marriott when they had the opportunity to come over. They did want to come over, but they were pretty strongly saying, we don't want to overlook a storage facility. Why wouldn't you overlook a bike trail and a creek and a bunch of beautiful trees, type of a thing. And so that's kind of where I think.
And I appreciate you saying that, Ellen. Marriott is a great hotel company. I think that, again, to Councilmember Martin's point, we've got some amazing natural features along there with the bike trail and with the creek. They should want to take full advantage of that. And so, from our perspective, I don't think it adds to the natural beauty of the area if the people who are using the trail and the water trail are seeing this huge expanse of concrete and then the backside of a hotel. I mean, they need to work with us to make sure that, they're taking advantage of the natural beauty that's around there and enhancing it. So, I agree with Councilmember Martin that we should have high expectations for what it should look like. And I know you'll work with us on that.
Absolutely, and if there's conversation that we need to have prior to getting the final site plan approval and how
Right,
it's going to look,
right,
but
right.
I do appreciate you putting some of those other ones up there, because it's 164 stalls and 121 stalls. I think our parking is actually down from what it was, but, I understand what you're saying.
Thank you for continuing to work with us. Thank you, staff, for all of your great work. I mean, it's been a long haul, and you've hung in there, all of you who have contributed to this, and but we're getting close, and what we have before us tonight, I think, is good. So thank you.
Staff, economic development staff will encourage the developer to work and exceed maybe some of the minimum requirements on landscaping. Not promised, but we'll encourage that direction.
The project continues to improve, right? The original agreement of 3 years ago was 70,000 square feet. It's now more than 2 times that for just the hotel and Bombers. This has gotten much, much larger, grander scale, everything. So I think we're in a
You are a
good
Johnston
spot.
resident. You have to live here, and I believe you when you say you want it to be as good as it can be. So, thank you. Any further discussion? Did I close the public hearing, right?
Good, and we have a motion and a second.
Right. Any further discussion? If not, Cindy, roll call, or Cindy, vote, please.
Councilmember Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Evans? Martin?
No. Motion passed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So, second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote, please.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Evans? Martin?
Yes.
Ready?
Motion passed. Moving on to the non-consent agenda. Item 7A, consider resolution number 25-202, establishing the public hunting areas for the 2025-2026 Urban Bow Hunt Program. Jeff?
Very surprised with this. She didn't really give me an update, but every year you guys approve a map that we allow public hunting on, urban bow hunting on. And in the memo, it's the map has been the same map we've had for several years. Nothing's changed with that. We still will also put up some signs in the Beaver Creek Natural Resource Area. We kind of limit hunting in that area too. So that's kind of what I know about that project, or the process. We do require all the urban bow hunters to pass efficiency classes as well, and we're pretty much focusing on doe tags, but we do have, I guess, 3 buck tags that will be able to be allowed for certain hunters to get, so.
Council, have any questions for Jeff? If not, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 25-202?
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote, please.
Councilmember Cope?
Yes.
Evans? Martin?
Yes.
Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7B, consider first consideration of ordinance number 1141, amending the City of Johnston revised ordinances of 2007 by amending Chapter 99 sanitary sewer, Section 99.07 sewer usage charges.
Good evening. I'm going to give a really very short introduction, introduce Matt Stoffel to carry the presentation here as I get his presentation loaded. As council is aware, we've been working on a sanitary sewer and a water rate study. A couple of meetings ago, we had an extended conversation about our connection fee district and additional charges for our Northwest growth area. And so we're in the process of going through the process of closing some SRF loans to fund some of that infrastructure to the Northwest area, which requires us to provide SRF with our pro forma and show that we can pay those loans. And so that action, timing-wise, Matt will talk about, we need to take some action now to move forward with that as we finish up that rate study here in the next coming months. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt to go through the highlights here. Did not open. There we go.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. I think you've all kind of heard this presentation once, but I will do it again at a high level, and we can discuss any questions that may have come up since you've seen this information once. So the calendar update, today we're doing the first rate readings. The city is looking to enter into these 3 loans, one $9 million water SRF loan, an $8 million sewer SRF loan, and an $11.4 million water SRF loan. And the way the SRF process works is they set rates quarterly. And so in order to lock in the interest rates that are currently available, we would need to submit that construction loan application by this Friday. And so that's kind of why we're here tonight. And so in order to do that, we have to have started the rate reading process. And so in order to get those loans and in order to fund those loans, you've got to have sufficient rates and charges. And to the extent that your current ordinance doesn't allow for the sufficient rates and charges to pay back the debts, then you have to adopt the new ordinances. And so, so the plan would be, provided the council moves forward with the first rate reading tonight, we would submit that application. It would go to the IFA board on September 3rd. And then you would have subsequent rate readings in October. And then on October 1st, we would figure out what the new interest rates were. And then we'd be able to take advantage of either the current interest rates, or if they get better, then the lower interest rates in October. You would authorize those loans on October 20th, and then they would close November 14th. 2 of the loans are funding construction to the Northwest Annexation Area, and so the city's currently spending money on those projects. And so the sooner we can get those loans in place, the sooner you can use the bond proceeds to help fund them. And then the Central Iowa Waterworks asset transfer buy-in is due January 1. And so we would work with the city to determine if the interest rate it's to your advantage to close that loan November 14th, or potentially then wait till December 19th to close that loan. If the interest rate doesn't get better, then we would wait and not incur the interest cost between November 14th. So that will be determined once we know what the rates are. And we can't know that until we see what rates reset at October 1st. So, we talked at all of the committees about some different options. And so there are sufficient revenues to pay the obligations in water and sewer for 2026. And so there was an option where we could wait, do the rate increases in July of next year. But then what that does is it just compounds those future rate increases. And so I think everybody was in agreement at the committee level to do a January 1 increase. So these rates wouldn't go into effect until January 1, 2026. And then there would be another one, July 1, 2026, with the beginning of the fiscal year. So I think this item on the agenda is sewer. So I'm going to flip to the sewer. And these are the pro formas that we prepare to help calculate what these rates need to be. Always trying to target, sufficient flexibility and meeting all the financial obligations with obviously the lowest rates we can possibly have for the water and sewer. So for the sewer, the recommendation would be, a rate increase of 9.5% on January 1, 2026. And then 9.5% each July 1 for the next 3 years. Part of this rate study and part of what we talked about in the sewer connection fee is when you're pledging your revenues, you've got to have sufficient revenues based on current customers and based on the current rates. But as the connection fees come in and those revenues come in, they could potentially help buy down those rates from year to year. And I think that is the intention, that as we start to develop that area, it can take some pressure off of these. So we we'll potentially be revisiting these on an annual basis to see if they're actually needed. And if we can meet all of the financial commitments without doing them, then we would revise them from year to year. So that's kind of the overview on sewer. It'll be a similar questions there might be from the council.
Council have any questions for Matt?
Yeah. Do we need to?
First ordinance before we go to the second ordinance.
I don't have the full agenda here. Do we have is 7C, is that the water?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take action on the sewer. Do we have a motion to approve first consideration of ordinance number 1141? Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans? Martin?
Yes.
Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7C, consider first consideration of ordinance number 1142, amending the City of Johnston revised ordinances of 2007 by amending Chapter 92 Water, Section 92.02 Rates for Service. Matt?
Okay, so similar conversation on water. The rate increases are lower, so we were recommending, but we do have to do them for a longer period of time. We are recommending a 5% increase on water rates as of January 1, 2026, and then a 5% increase each July 1st thereafter for the next 4 years. 4 years after that. So similar discussion, the water, the water component has a big piece of that is the Central Iowa Water Works buy-in, which I think everybody was familiar with, and we've been planning for quite some time. On the water side, we haven't seen a rate increase since 2020, and so this will be the first increase on water since 2020. So happy to answer any questions that there might be on the water.
Council have any questions on that one?
So just to kind of be clear, and I meant to ask this during the sewer part, so I'm going to ask kind of a two-part. So the main driver on the water issue is the buy-in for CIWW, is that correct?
It's 11.4 of the $19 million. Yeah.
Okay. And then on the on the water side, I'm sorry, on the sewer side, we talked about this in one of our ad hoc meetings, but the main driver there, is WRA expansion debt, their capital improvement plan that they have over the next 5 years and demands that they're then placing on their members. That's the main driver on the sewer side.
Yeah, on sewer, I would anticipate more of like a 2 to 3% increase without WRA future debt allocation, just based on what's currently authorized from WRA. But yeah, most of the pressure on the sewer comes from the WRA capital plan, which is about $1.2 billion. And so Johnston's portion of that is, right, 3 to 4%.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? If not, do we have a motion to approve first consideration of ordinance number 1142?
So second.
Have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Martin?
Yes.
Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Evans?
Motion passed. Item 7D, consider approval of claims in the amount of $1,827,786.93.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Evans? Martin?
Yes.
Motion passed. We've already dispensed with the city administrator staff comments. Is there anything else from staff? Seeing none, we've also covered the city council comments. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned. Thank everyone.